believe it or not, a lot of companies are actually blocking employees from accessing social media within the organization. I say believe it or not, actually the last report that I read said 57% of companies in America still don't let their employees access Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Well, today we're going to ask Erin Morana, who is a senior VP at the Great Place to Work Institute, the institute that chooses the 100 best companies to work for. Erin, is that a good policy to block employees from accessing social media sites?
Typically among the 100 best, they're not doing it.
They're not.
And in fact, they're trying to leverage those sites to further extend their brand. So an example of this would be Ernst & Young, and you would think probably Big Four accounting firm, probably pretty staunch with their practices, really conservative, particularly given kind of the nature of their work. And in fact, they are encouraging the use of Facebook, primarily as a recruiting tactic for that younger generation, the Gen Yers, because that's where they're going to try to get information about possible organizations that they want to interview with. And so what they're doing is that they're inviting their employees to describe a day in the life and continue to, throughout the day, talk about different experiences that they have. So they're even encouraging that because they have such high levels of trust in their employees that they want them to be talking about it out into the world.
But this is interesting because I was at your conference in Denver a couple weeks ago, and somebody raised their hand during my session on social media and said, wait a minute, why shouldn't we block employees from these social media sites? Aren't they wasting a lot of time out there? What do you say to the senior leaders that say, I'm not going to let them go to Facebook, I'm not going to let them go to YouTube because they're wasting time that should be spent on the company?
Well, if you're hiring great talent, then you need to trust them to make the right kinds of decisions. And you're not monitoring their bathroom time, you're not monitoring their time in the lunchrooms, you're not, hopefully, you're not doing those kinds of things. And so you've got to take a look at the overall trust that you have in employees and determine that they're going to need to make the decisions throughout the day that best accommodates them. And if you're holding them accountable to their performance, when and how they get their work done should be less important than the actual results that they're delivering to the organization.
Do you see this trend declining, the whole block, the social media websites? Do you see that declining, or do you see it kind of staying the same?
We are seeing it declining and kind of being encouraged by this Gen Y. They don't want to go and work for organizations that are blocking this because the social media is so ingrained into their lives that they're actually making some decisions about which organizations to go to based on the organization's embracing of social media.
Yeah, because that could be a real factor with millennials, as many as our viewers would note. These are people that grew up on Facebook.
Right, right.
How do you tell them they can't go to Facebook during the day?
I mean, the really great organizations aren't. So if you are recruiting at a university and they ask you that kind of question, it's a really tough sell to try to say, but we trust you and we want you to come into this organization, because that millennial's thinking, well, you really don't trust me then, because I could make the right kind of decision about how I want to spend my time if you hold me accountable to the overall results.
Well, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Mark.